Hello everyone, this is Joel. I'm doing a video today about information text. This is aimed at an ACSF Level 3 writing task, which is an information report, and also the Level 3 readings, which may involve reading a information text. So let's get started. What are information texts? They're a category of non-fiction text that are related to transferring information, and they have particular features and structures which help the reader to identify information. And examples of information texts might include reference texts, encyclopedias, newspapers, or information websites. It's important to know that biographies are not information texts. They have a different purpose. They might sometimes be called a subgenre of information text. They certainly do have information about a character, but they focus on that character, specifically on that character's life and their timeline, not on a particular subject. So an information text generally focuses on a subject, not topic, not the characters in that subject. On a similar level, instructions are not information text. So instructions are procedural texts in that they give a series of steps to try to help you to achieve a goal, to, make a cake or fix something. So information texts don't have a final goal for the reader to accomplish. So that it's more about giving you an overall idea about a topic. So information texts are giving you an overall idea, while instructions are giving you steps towards a goal that you should accomplish. What I, what's the purpose of information text? It's to give information or to educate the reader about that. There are subgenres of information text such as scientific reports, technological reports, and social studies reports. They're more like flavors, and if you want to practice, you're welcome to write any one of these three and submit it to your teacher. So often when we're doing reading tasks, we're asked about the audience of the text. It's important not to write everybody or everyone when you do that. You need to think more deeply. Ask yourself who would be interested in reading this and why. So that might involve people who work in the industry, professionals that are involved in the issue, people who look after other people who are involved with that issue. So, for example, parents or health professionals, or people who are affected by decisions about that issue. So often there's a word for that, stakeholders. So who has a stake, who has something to lose or gain from this issue. So there's many features of a information text. It uses a specific vocabulary uh, that has to do with your topic. That's to prevent, it sort of helps you keep your word count down, because if you have to keep describing everything, if you use a particular jargon or vocabulary to explain something, so we know exactly what you're talking about. They're usually written in the present tense, unless they're giving historical information. Um, they're written in third person, so you want to be impersonal, okay? So avoid personal pronouns. Lacks emotional language. If anything, you should try to use a more formal language. So you don't want to give away an opinion of the reader, you're just giving information. Don't give any opinion. There is room, a little bit of room in the conclusion for some final thoughts, but you do not give you an opinion in information. It's Information texts are also often, but not always, linear. There are non-linguistic features and structures that are connected to and strengthen the written parts of the report. So you shouldn't just be throwing pictures in and stuff like that willy-nilly. You should be using those pictures, illustrations, maps, whatever it is, in order to help the reader understand what it. You might use comparatives and superlatives. So bigger than, the biggest, though you probably won't use big. I'll get it more into academic writing in another video, but big and small and general words like that are generally avoided. Try to use passive voice. We've done passive voice before, probably do it again, and I might make a video on passive voice because it's a big topic and it's used in academic writing a lot. So you're also going to have other textual features used in the structure. So that might include a table of contents, an index. Some of the text might be in a bold or italics. You might have different font colors, like this is yellow, this is white. So this is the heading, so it uses a different font color and font size to show you that that's the heading. Bullet points, it might have bullet points. So these are bullet points down here. There's different ways you can do that, with numbers and little arrows and things like that. It might have a glossary for the specialized vocabulary that you're using, or it could give definitions of any specialized vocabulary. You're probably going to have some sort of visual information, so you'll have either some illustrations or photos, maybe a labeled diagram or a map, something like that, or a graph or a chart, something like that to give more visual information about your topic. And those things will have pins and labels. Under each diagram, you usually have something like figure 1 and then give it a title or something like that. So just to help people understand what your graph or chart might be about. You might have, a legend in your map, graph, or chart just to explain what's going on in there too. So information reports have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. They have a title. They have subheadings under the titles. So you'll have introduction, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 subheadings, and then conclusion. It's written in paragraphs, not all of the time, because obviously when you use bullet points, you won't have a paragraph, but most of the time you will be writing in paragraphs. Paragraph should be about 3 to 7 sentences long. One sentence is not a paragraph, so try to avoid one sentence paragraphs because it makes the writing feel very choppy. And the subheadings should basically help to organize the information that you're giving so that we can understand what it is you're talking about in the different categories when all of the information to do with that category is underneath the subheading. So I won't go too far into introductions and conclusions in this video. I will probably make other videos about that. But basically an introduction tells you what the topic is, describes aspects, features and characteristics of the topic, moves from a general description into a more specific information. But you're not going to give all of your information away. You're just sort of giving a taste so that the reader is interested in finding out more by reading the rest of your report. And you may have a hook as the first sentence. So that would be a question, a quote, or interesting information. In many ways, a conclusion is sort of the mirror image of the introduction. It starts off with these specific points and will generalize it into a main conclusion. But your main goal is to summarize the main points of the report, and you may find that at the end you would like to add a final thought, which is just basically a recommendation for the future or a comment about holes in the research or difficulties that you had finding a particular information about something. So that's the only time that you'll put an opinion in a report. When you're reading an information text, ask yourself questions about the text. So you'll ask yourself, what's the accuracy of the information? What's the authority of its sources? Who's the primary audience of the text? And whether the text is using the features of the information genre. So for example, if in the middle of your information report it's starting to use poetry, why is it doing that? Is it still an information report if it's using more poetic genre? So it will of course depend on what it did and how it did it, but those are things. So when writing an information report, the first thing you need to do is research. And really, you're going to spend about as much time researching your report as you will writing it. So you research first, collect all your information, and then you'll spend some time planning it. All right. So research, then planning, and then you'll write it. And then after you've written it, you'll edit it and give it a quick read, check your spelling, check that everything is in place. Have you got everything that you wanted to say? Have you got stuff that you cut out? That's So there's a quiz on this link here for information text if you want to check that out, and it has questions like this. Extension activity. These are my references. I hope you've enjoyed this video and it's given you some information about the information text, specifically about the reports. If you'd like to write a report as practice, you're more than welcome to talk to your teacher about that, and you could submit that by email. However, you don't have at this stage. You might not have to. It's just for those students who want to practice writing more. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video and I will see you in class. See ya!